Friday morning, and welcome back to the Livingston Parish News Morning Show. My name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news. Appreciate you guys joining us this morning. If you're watching us live on Facebook, thank you for that. Please remember that our Facebook page does keep these shows on our page, so you can go back and watch them anytime throughout the day. It's up to you. We do also upload these shows to www.livingstonparishnews.com/podcast. We have audio and video versions there for you to check out. And if you're watching us there, we appreciate that as well. Getting into your traffic this morning, I-12 is flowing with some slowdowns past the 10-12 split, so please keep that in mind. On-ramps are moving in Livingston Parish, so not too bad. 4-H Club Road, River Road, and 190 looking pretty good this morning. 64 into Central looking pretty clear today. Minor delays on Greenville Springs. Of course, that school traffic starting to clear out. Good morning, Miss Cynthia. Thanks for joining us. Starting to clear out, but still pretty heavy in and around Live Oak High School, Denham Springs High School, and Walker High School, especially on Burgess Avenue this morning. It's currently 53 degrees. Only 79 is your high, so it's not going to quite break into the 80s today. 52, your overnight low. So we're going to start getting even more chilly at night, so be prepared for that. It is going to be a sunny day, much like what we've had. Very beautiful weather, very pleasant temperatures. So try to take advantage of that. But don't forget, keep drinking water. Football is back. Albany topped Springfield last night to kick off the slate of the Livingston Parish school contests. Good morning, Ms. Tony. Thanks for joining us. Kicking off the slate for the Livingston Parish schools. Many games coming tonight as well on Friday. Good morning, Miss Margaret. Thanks for joining us. So keep an eye out for that. Mr. Rob DeArmond was at the game last night, and he'll be at another game tonight, as well as some of our stringers and such, trying to keep you apprised of what's going on in the football world. Of course, remember, shortage of referees this year. So many of these football Friday nights are going to be split between Thursday and Friday to make sure games are properly reffed. But again, Albany topped Springfield 55-25 to kick off the Livingston Parish football slate for the regular season. Last night, Lane Hardy hosts his second concert this week to benefit those of Red Cross. He had one on Monday, had a bit of technical difficulty, so this one on Thursday was held for free, just trying to raise money for the Red Cross, especially with regard to Laura and a lot of the disasters that we've dealt with this year. So if you want to donate money, you can always check out Lane's Facebook page to go back and watch the show. It'll also be on his YouTube. Getting into your COVID-19 statistics real quick, 166,584 cases, 5,329 deaths, 2,333,320 tests. Let me say that again, 2,333,320 tests. 154,163 have recovered, 534 hospitalized on 75 ventilators. In Livingston Parish, 3,818 cases, 76 deaths, and 40,783 tests. Before we get into a battle at the legislature, which is ongoing about the governor's, I guess you can say, emergency proclamations and extensions of COVID-19 mitigation efforts, we do want to say that it does appear that President Donald Trump has tested positive for coronavirus, as well as his wife. It was reported early yesterday that one of his top aides had tested positive. Of course, many in the White House began testing. As it turns out, it does look like he does have it. We do know that he was quarantining for 14 days. So please keep the folks in the White House in your thoughts as they deal with what looks to be a small outbreak there at the nation's residence for the president, as well as where he does business. So please keep them in mind. Tough situation, especially for the country as we're moving through an election cycle. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But again, Trump's top aide, or President Trump's top aide, did test positive for coronavirus, and it does look like both he and Melania have tested positive as well and will quarantine for 14 days. Mentioned it before I got into the news about President Donald Trump. There is a battle going on. We talked about it yesterday at the legislature over the governor's emergency powers. It's starting to take a little more shape, starting to see exactly what the legislature has a stomach for in terms of crossing boundaries. A lot of concern about the constitutional separation of powers between we much like the country itself have a Supreme Court, a legislature, and a executive body, or the governor. So it's interesting to see what sort of lines the legislature is willing to toe. Right now, you're looking at two bills. One is coming out of the Senate, the other one coming out of the House, that looks like are going to be the two that might go the distance. One is has now been approved by a House committee, so it's looking like this has pretty good legs, even though it is a Senate bill. This would be the committee that we discussed yesterday that would be made up of individuals from both the House, the Senate, and the governor's office that would oversee any sort of extension of an emergency declaration. They'd have a seat at the table. They wouldn't necessarily be able to bring it down, but they would have input and would know what was going on. There's been a lot of testimony, especially from the governor's office, that especially the heads, which would be the Senate president and the House speaker, do have a seat at the table when the governor goes over these emergency declarations and whether or not he wants to extend it. Not entirely sure what the line of communication there is, but that has been expressed by the governor's office. So that would be SB 29. It is rolling out of the House committee onto the House floor probably today. Going to be interesting to see what happens there. But again, many of the Republicans on the Government Affairs Committee in the House said they felt like this particular bill lacked some teeth. So it's going to be interesting to see how they treat it on the floor. Again, just creating an oversight committee made up mostly of legislators to oversee the process of any kind of extension of an emergency declaration. The other bill proposed this time by House Speaker Clay Schexnayder, as opposed to the other bill, which was proposed by Senate President Paige Cortez, this particular House bill is looking at suspending the emergency declaration for 30 days as of the end of the current Louisiana special session. So whenever that ends, whenever they cut it off, 30 days after that, there would be no emergency declaration, which means no mask mandates or anything of that nature. So it's going to be interesting to see how they treat that bill as well. Both houses must sign off on it, but the governor, it's not required that the governor signs off on anything particular of that nature. So right now, they're going to be going through those processes through the end of today. The head of the governor's office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness warned of option 2, the suspension or any kind of cancellation of the emergency declaration. He said specifically that there is a potential for that to cut off funding from people like FEMA, grant money, relief aid, that sort of thing, in case there is another spike in the coronavirus, especially as it starts to get colder. So he warned that might not be the best path to go down. The legislature is still moving that way. So we will see exactly how that wraps up. It may not wrap up today, but it will. That will continue. That seems to be one of the major focus of this legislative session, special legislative session. The other focus, of course, is trying to deal with this year's budget in the wake of the economy. And of course, we'll talk about that right now. As we've discussed, the legislature has dodged several times upping that unemployment tax. Unemployment in Louisiana currently sitting at about 10.8%. Good morning, Jonathan, Mr. JT. Thanks for joining us. Nationwide, you're looking at about 837,000 new unemployment claims. However, the total number of recurring claims is dropping. So those are people who are freshly unemployed, but the total unemployment is dropping. So that is a good sign. In the capital area, you're looking at about 38,000 total unemployed. That's about 1/3, maybe 1/4 of what it was at the height of the novel coronavirus. 4,629 unemployed in Livingston, which is a pretty good number, roughly about 1,700 higher than it normally is. And of course, that one's about 1/5 of what it was at the height. And 23,151 unemployed in East Baton Rouge Parish. That, of course, also roughly 1/5 of what it was at its height. So the economy is steadily recovering in the capital area. But, of course, that 10.8% unemployment is still pulling pretty hard on our unemployment trust fund. So they're going to be, looking for the feds, trying to buy time, see if the feds are going to put up some money to help repair that fund. And in the meantime, trying to find other ways to fund it, as opposed to that increased unemployment tax rate on business owners. It's a quarterly tax that would go up to 30%, which is roughly a 500% increase of what it is now. A lot of that depends on how many you have employed, what your salary base is, that kind of thing. But it's still a pretty major increase. A lot of people have criticized it as unintuitive because it would put an extra tax on those who are already losing workers. So they might lose more to push them into unemployment or at least furlough them. So it's going to be interesting to see how they. A lot of moving parts at the legislature. We always discuss the legislature. There's always a lot going on. A lot of these bills are focused around effects of the coronavirus, which we knew. We knew they were having the fall special session to talk about revenue. But it is interesting to put up unemployment and the governor's emergency powers in that, because a lot of them are connected. So it's going to be interesting to see what the legislature eventually settles on. Of course, if they do suspend the emergency declaration, the mask mandate will end and that sort of thing. So it'll be interesting to see exactly what happens to the economy at that point. Please remember, a reminder, Louisiana's unemployment currently at 10.8%. Getting back into your traffic real quick, I-12 is flowing up to the 10-12 split with some slowdowns after. The on-ramps are moving, so that's a good sign here in Livingston Parish. 4-H Club Road, River Road, N190 is flowing. 64 into Central is clear with some minor delays on Greenville Springs. And, of course, school traffic right here at about 750 is just about played out. It's currently 53 degrees. 79 degrees is your high today. Woof. Let's try it again. 53 degrees is your current temperature. 79 degrees your high today. 52 your overnight low. It's going to be a sunny day, very beautiful day, pleasant temperatures. Try to take advantage of it, but don't forget your water. Had my first bowl of gumbo of the season last night. It was delicious. I want to thank my mother for that. So please remember, it's going to be a beautiful day, but it is going to get cold at night. So keep that in mind. One last time, my name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news. Appreciate you guys joining us for the Livingston Parish News Morning Show. Want to remind you guys that we are on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. We are once a week in print on Thursdays at $7 a month to get that in your mailbox. We are also online, www.livingstonparishnews.com. We have a podcast page, which is free, a coronavirus page, which is free, and a breaking news page, which is free as well. Breaking news has national, state, arrest, and accident news for you to check out. We do hope you have a great day. Again, it is going to be a beautiful one. It's supposed to be a beautiful weekend as well. Go Tigers, go Saints, and we will see you Monday morning.